is a crisis, and we need to address that crisis. This is a high risk for us as a nation. Border security is national security, and we need to get at this and get at this in a serious way.
But no, the Democrats claim that there is no crisis at the border. They claim that there is no spike of illegal alien traffic at the border. Funny, that's not what the Border Patrol is telling us. Agents on this program down in Texas say bluntly that we have lost control of our southern border. Clearly, this attack on our sovereign nation is not solely a border state problem. Not when these illegals are hopping commercial flights with no ID, it's not. Joining me now from the Capitol Statuary Hall in Washington, D.C., representing District 36 in Texas, Congressman Brian Babin. Congressman, DHS allowing these illegals to ride the aircraft, I don't care personally whether they have ID or not. I think it's a threat, a domestic threat to those of us who are not illegal aliens in this country, and allowing them apparently to board flights with simply a notice to appear and not the proper identification that's demanded of me and of you. Is this correct?
No, it's not correct, Graham. Good to be with you. What a terrible story this is, to have this many people coming crashing over our borders, 144,000 alone last month, and now they're flying them around the country, not enforcing the law, their own law, TSA. They're getting on without proper documentation, identification, like you said a little earlier. You know, we don't know what these people are coming in for, or who they are, or what their intentions are. Yet they're able to board aircraft and fly around the country where you and I could never do that. And so, for that reason, me and some of my colleagues have signed a letter to TSA asking them what is the deal. We are protesting this. We are complaining about it. You've got to follow the law. This is a terrible, terrible situation in the country today, where it's just mass chaos on the border. We are not enforcing the law. There are well over 1 million people who are in this country today who have not shown up for their adjudication hearings or immigration hearings, or have already been adjudicated, and the federal court has told them that they are to leave. They have orders to be removed, and yet we are not enforcing that, and not enforcing the law in the least. These people are just continuing to flaunt it. The Speaker of the House was asked about this yesterday. When asked about interior enforcement, she said, "What's the point?" And so that leads me to believe that the other side of the aisle just simply wants open borders, anyone to come in, and we're not a nation of laws. We're just a nation of, well, you can obey the law if it fits you and suits you. We are not that type of country.
Imagine that from the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the United States Congress, saying, what's the point of interior enforcement? I really wonder if we ought to go to her district and pull the police department and say, what's the point? It's the same thing. It's called law enforcement. It's called law and order. It's called a civil society. And apparently Nancy Pelosi and company don't really care. All they care about is winning in 2020. But I want to talk about your letter. You and 7 of your colleagues who have brains in the House of Representatives asked a whole bunch of questions, but I want to just look at a couple of them, three. Who is funding the air travel? That's a legitimate question. What health screenings are aliens required to undergo prior to boarding a plane to ensure that they're not putting other passengers at risk? That's a legitimate question. What form of identification are aliens required to produce prior to boarding the plane? Again, some of the reporting we're hearing, Congressman, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, is that these aliens are being allowed to, first of all, I'd like to know if DHS has answered these questions or not, but what we're hearing is that no, these aliens are being allowed to board these planes without the proper identification.
Yeah, obviously they are. We know that that's a fact, but you asked, have we gotten answers? No, we have not gotten answers. And I can tell you that not only with this issue with TSA, but with some other issues. We've had well over 100 West Africans that have come into the country. We know what's in the Congo, and that's called Ebola. We had our staff call DHS to ask them some of the details about these individuals who were Congolese and Angolans and certain other countries to ask them questions, and we cannot get any answers whatsoever. I'm very, very disappointed with DHS and the cooperation we're seeing. We've also seen that at the top echelon in DHS certainly have thwarted the efforts for interior enforcement by the ICE director. And I think, according to the wishes of the President of the United States, to have interior enforcement, the likelihood of us getting Democrat help to close the loopholes and do the things that we need to do to secure this border are very unlikely. And so interior enforcement, we've got 1 million people in this country have already been ordered to leave. We've probably got 1 million plus who have not shown up for their immigration hearings and are on the lam. These are people that have already been ordered by the federal government, by a federal judge, immigration judge, to be removed, and simply these are not being removed. And when we have a DHS secretary that is not allowing that to happen, I think he's not doing service to this president. He's not doing service to the American people who are being put at grave risk from crime, from overwhelming numbers in their schools and hospitals, and also, just coming in and overwhelming the system, and then on a public health level, it is a disaster waiting to happen.
Well, that's insubordination in my book and grounds for dismissal. And I think we need to start taking names and start holding these people accountable. And now we have this, what looks to be almost an impasse. Tell me what's going on, Congressman, in terms of this emergency funding. The Democrats, of course, want to skew this emergency funding toward the so-called human crisis, more worried about the aliens who are violating our sovereignty than we, the people, and of course, ignore homeland security and ignore beefing up the border. How is this thing gonna shake out, in your opinion?
Well, I can't support it. I mean, I think that they certainly need funding. We don't have the funding. We don't have the assets down on the border to take care of these overwhelming numbers. Like I said, 144,000 just last month alone. But the funding has got to be for the things that are going to disincentivize the hordes of people who are coming up. Instead, this money is going to be used to expedite the incarceration for a temporary period of time, and then expedite their release into the country, which is going to do nothing but just keep the green light on for them to continue coming into the nation and overwhelming our system.
And so the Democrats here are treating the symptom, the political expedient symptom of the so-called kids in cages and the parents separating from the kids and all that kind of nonsense, which is what we do in our system of law and order, by the way. When we have people commit crimes, we separate them from, unfortunately, from the kids from their parents, because that's the way we do things. We don't put them in jail together. But the bottom line is the Democrats are going to treat the symptom, the politically expedient symptom, and not the real problem. And that's what the president is begging them, challenging them to do. Congressman, thank you. Coming up next.